All right, we're live. Check the mic. After dark, the Jets have defeated the New England Patriots here on Thursday Night Football, 24-3. Jets moving to 2-1. Patriots falling to 1-2. Had a vintage Aaron Rodgers performance tonight. Sam looked sharp. Velocity was good. Pocket movement, thrown on the run was outstanding for Rodgers. What'd you make of the Jets win here tonight?
Yeah, Rodgers looked great. And really, it was a game that made perfect sense if you hadn't watched week 1 or 2. If you
Agreed.
just come into the season from all the kind of off-season, preseason talk, and it's like, man, the Patriots are going to stink. They're just overwhelmed. They don't have the talent. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, it's going to be great. He's going to make them contenders. Their defense is nasty. It looked exactly like we expected it to look preseason. It's just that weeks 1 and weeks 2 confused that picture where the Patriots looked better. The Jets maybe didn't look quite as good. But ultimately, it was exactly what we thought it was going to look like 3 weeks ago.
I may have said on today's week 3 preview show, hey, the Patriots have been one of my more impressive teams because this is what I expected. This is exactly what I expected from New England this year, right? It was a team that struggles mightily protecting the quarterback, not necessarily couldn't run the ball, but, can't really complete many passes down the field, which they haven't the first 2 weeks. But they played hard. They ran the ball and they played tough defense the first 2 weeks. It kept them in some games. But this is what I had expected. And I think from a Jets perspective, after a disappointing beatdown against the Niners in week 1, a nice resilient win against the Titans in week 2. And then this is a performance that, as you mentioned, if you told us this a couple of weeks ago, we'd say, yeah, of course. I mean, Rodgers and the Jets and Mike Williams is out there. Garrett Wilson's out there. He's got his pass catchers. And the defense is going to be getting after the Patriots. Of course, we expected that. Now, I got to keep an eye on the great Morgan Moses now at right tackle, comes out injured. First-round rookie Olu Fashanu replaced him down the stretch. We know Fashanu had some struggles at right tackle during the preseason, so just something to keep an eye on for the Jets.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing is, it's easy to kind of overrate single games. Like the Patriots have had sloppy games during the dynasty period, right? It's not that a sloppy game equals, but this is the kind of game that you would have been concerned about absent Bill Belichick as well, right? There were just mistakes everywhere. It was sloppy football on both sides of the ball, basic fundamental errors across the board. These are the kinds of things you would expect to look for without Bill Belichick at the helm as the details coach, as the guy making sure, everything is on point. And again, it makes perfect sense if you hadn't seen the first couple of weeks where they did look much improved. The Patriots are bad, but the Jets look fantastic. Rodgers looked really good. Not just, the ball was coming out of his hand well, but he was running around. Like he made some plays with his legs that looked not just, oh yeah, he can still move, but actually athletic. Like he looked pretty much like vintage Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the questions. Remember, we've talked about, I never thought the velocity would be an issue. It was really sharp tonight. I mean, tight spiral, getting the ball through there, that touchdown to Garrett Wilson, being able to zip that past Christian Gonzalez, outstanding. Never really questioned that. I was wondering how this would look. The mobility, first play that he was under pressure, he got sacked. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't know if he's going to break free from too many sacks. I don't know if he's going to do much as far as evading pressure. All of a sudden, anytime New England didn't keep contained, which again was a very Belichickian staple, anytime they weren't keeping contained on the outside, he was rolling out, very patient, always finding seemingly Tyler Conklin, on the scramble. I thought he looked fantastic. And the other part about the Jets and all of this talk about the new NFL and what how the defenses are playing, a meticulous Jets offense, right? It's just hit the slant when it's there, hit that scramble route when it's there, throw the back shoulder when it's there. Rodgers just kept taking what was there and throwing the ball accurately.
And Rodgers is like one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history for this style of offense. Like this is what he always loved doing anyway. This is like he's built for the 2024 version of offense. Like he's perfectly happy to be patient and kill you with 1,000 paper cuts and take a scramble here or there and not force it deep downfield when it's not there. Like he's always been, risk averse. I'm not going to throw an interception. I'm not going to put the ball in harm's way. I'm just going to make the plays that are there. Like Rodgers is a perfect quarterback to have if this is the development this year and this is the way the league is going to go.
The other thing about the Jets, you got Braylon Allen again running the ball extremely well. I mean, look, it was very good Jets offense. A couple red zone times they missed a field goal, came up short on a couple passes here and there in the red zone, but pretty good performance straight start to finish there. And then again from New England, we did get to see Drake May. We did get to see his debut. It was in mostly in garbage time just to see what he did. Kicks it off by killing his PFF grade with a turnover-worthy play that's dropped. Next drop back gets dropped on his head. Wasn't a great start for Drake May in his career.
Yeah, I mean, kind of on a hiding to nothing, right? It's deep into garbage time. The offense is getting murdered anyway. It's like, what's he really going to do? Starting it off with a pass that could and maybe should have been picked off is pretty rough. Yeah, we didn't really get to see much from Drake May that would have excited you, but I mean, it was a no-win scenario at that point, really.
Everybody's talking about New England's offensive line and their inability to block. It's excuse me. It's not just getting close. It's not just the line. This was the concern in the preseason. Unblocked rushers, right? Will McDonald had a quick sack as the unblocked rusher. He just had. We thought he might. I mean, I thought he might be a liability against the run. They basically told him, if they run zone away from you, just go get the quarterback. Forget the run. And he picks up sacks, just being the unblocked rusher. There are scheme issues. Anytime there's a stunt, twist, a blitz, New England has trouble just picking it up. Their backs aren't pass protecting. It's not just a line issue. This is what I was thinking before the season, that they were going to have issues all across the board up front. They don't have the receivers to get open when there's a blitz. So New England struggled up front. It goes more than just, the offensive line's bad, which I do believe they will struggle in pass protection, but it's also the communication and everything else they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect storm, right? The offensive line is bad. They're also certainly in the first half, the Jets were blitzing way more than they usually do. Like, they were basically showing zero respect whatsoever for the Patriots' threat of a passing offense. They were like, we don't think any of your receivers can win one-on-one, so we're going to blitz, in addition to having better players up front than you're capable of blocking. And the Patriots weren't able to establish a run game to back them off of that. They were also down early, so the game script got out of hand. Like, just a nightmare from a Patriots point of view. Herb Street was saying this on the broadcast, like, this game unfolded in a disastrous way for New England, right? It got away from them early, and this is not a team that is going to win a game that unfolds like this. They needed to be on par, in phase, or ahead, like, for the majority of the game to have any shot.
Remember the training camp practice against the Eagles where I said New England got sacked 15 times on 42 dropbacks? I mean, tonight was close. Next time we talk about overrating these practices, they got sacked 7 times between Jacoby Brissett and Drake May. 7 times on 30, and they had 26 attempts, so 33 sacks plus attempts, a couple scrambles in there too. But you're talking like 35, 36 dropbacks, and you had 7 times you're getting sacked in an NFL game. It's not great. So kudos to the Jets. I mean, that pass rush played the way we had expected them, I think, coming into the year, took advantage of that matchup with New England. Tyler Conklin became a huge target for Rodgers, and I think we're going to continue to see his ability to distribute the ball. When Mike Williams had one-on-one, he was giving him those back shoulder opportunities. I think this was everything we expected from the Jets and their offense, as far as if the pieces were in place. How do you target Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams in the one-on-ones, having a tight end as a safety net? Rodgers just full control tonight from him.
Well, that, I think, was the other element for the Jets that, we said whenever they were last on an island game, we were saying, look, they could really do with finding a couple more weapons, right? Because it was Garrett Wilson or it was Breece Hall, and outside of that, nobody else looked like they were going to make a big difference. In this game, though, like, Mike Williams showed that he's on his way back to full health, made a couple plays. Braylon Allen, I've been so impressed by, in part because my expectations were so low for him coming out. Like, I've been as strongly negative about Braylon Allen as a prospect as like any prospect at any position over the last few years. I really didn't think that, based off his tape in college, he had any shot whatsoever. He looks like a different player in the NFL. Like, he's explosive. He's got quickness. He's got way more of an understanding already how to use his size and his frame. Like, multiple plays in this game where he just put his head down, lowered his shoulder, and took on a guy that's, a linebacker or whatever in and around the line of scrimmage. He didn't do that particularly well in college. He was trying to run laterally the whole way. I mean, he looks like a really useful complement to Breece Hall in the backfield. Garrett Wilson remains really good. He got his touchdown, obviously started to get some more, but they've now found additional weapons already.
People want your Braylon Allen apology form as well. I mean, your negativity was contagious, Sam. It was contagious, which is shocking from you. No, I mean, he looks quick too, right? I mean, just quicker and more explosive, I think, than what we saw in college, of course. And as they pointed out, the youngest player in the NFL, or, right next to Rodgers, the oldest player. Is he officially the oldest player?
Yeah.
So quite the combination there for the Jets. So look, impressive win for the Jets. New England kind of back to where they were. I want to reiterate where we've been here. Given the struggles of the other rookie quarterbacks, I want to reiterate, I think New England's making the right move. And I don't know, I think all of the decisions about when to play Drake May, and that's what I'm talking about, the move to sit Drake May, all the decisions need to be based off him internally, his mastery of the offense, when he's ready, and his development for next year. I don't think there's a point where New England sits there and they're like, well, we're 1-7 and Jacoby Brissett is averaging 120 yards per game. Pat's O-line's so bad, thank God Drake May is sitting. This O-line would ruin him. Yeah. Like, look, I'm a fan I'm just a football fan, right? And the same thing crosses my mind watching this game. How, could Drake May be any worse than Jacoby Brissett? What if he came in and just hit a couple of those big time throws and saved the game? I think you have to lose that from your entire mentality when you're watching a game like this and just say, no, this is about 2025 and beyond, whatever's best for Drake May and the Patriots in the future.
No, the situation is horrendous right now. I mean, May might be a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. I don't know that there's any evidence of that yet, but it might be true. I don't think you should put him out there because I don't think there's any way he comes out of this a better player for the experience if this is what it's going to look like for the remainder of the season. Like, if this is the situation that the Patriots are dealing with, I would say it's almost certainly going to be damaging. It's going to create or reinforce bad habits. It's not going to give him reps that he can get better on. So unfortunately for Jacoby Brissett, you're the sacrificial lamb. You're the guy. We need a starter. You're it. We're protecting the asset over here for next year. Unfortunately, that means you go out there on a weekly basis and have to get your ass kicked. Apologies.
I was going to answer the question. Sorry. I was going to answer the question from Doug in the chat. Do the Patriots draft a tackle or wide receiver? My suggestion is, I got my college football schedule for the week. Saturday afternoon, 3:45, UCLA at LSU. I would watch LSU games if I was a Patriots fan. Will Campbell, probably the top left tackle prospect in the draft for next year. I think New England will have a shot to get him. Their right tackle, it's Emory Jones. I think he's more of a second-round prospect. I wouldn't be if I was New England, I wouldn't be scared to go tackle 1 and 2 with my draft picks next year. Might be both LSU tackles.
Yeah, I mean, they need the entire offensive line needs to be overhauled. And then generally, I think it's just easier to find wide receivers deeper in the draft. So let's draft a couple of offensive linemen. Let's come back, grab some wide receivers. Let's add to all of it.
Walter is that the sicko schedule? It's not the sicko schedule. This is just the entire TV schedule with the games I'm interested in highlighted. Not sicko stuff. Normal stuff.
Sounds pretty sicko.
USC at Michigan. Like, I'm not highlighting Memphis Navy or anything like that. That's not on the. That's what I'm not on the sicko stuff. Anyway, anything else what about Shohei Ohtani? Do you agree with Kirk Herbstreit? Maybe Shohei is even underrated, Sam.
Yeah.
Guy went 6 for 6 with 3 bombs, 10 ribbies, and the first guy. I wanted to get your comment. The first player ever to go 50-50 in a season. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases.
I saw somebody tweet, I think, that only 2 teams have had that happen before. Like, had a player with 50, like 2 different players have 50-50. And he's
I
can
see that. Yeah, because there's probably, off the top of my head, there's probably 30 guys that have hit 50 home runs in a season in history. The first 40-40 guy, do you know who that was?
No.
The guy who ended my career always comes up again. Jose Canseco, 1988, the first 40-40 guy. Now Shohei's 50-50, and he's one of the best pitchers in the game. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So just needed to get your thoughts for the crowd before we let everybody go.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that come around every day, Steve.
Thanks to Garrett Thorne, this podcast is almost as underrated as Ohtani. I got one more number for everybody that's in the chat right now. Just found out today, only about a third of you are subscribed. Only a third. It's kind of ridiculous. A third of our listeners are actually subscribed to the channel. It's the easiest thing in the world. You just click the button, click the bell while you're there, but click the subscribe button, and then boom, we're just pop right up in your YouTube feed whenever we go live here. So Alex asked if I injured a future Major League Baseball player once. Yeah, I think I told that story on the show before. I injured Sergio Romo in the outfield. I ran him over while trying to track down a fly ball during batting practice, probably like 2 days before he was going to get called up. Put him on the used to be called the disabled list, the injured list or whatever, for about 3 weeks. I think I probably cost him 3 weeks of Major League money by running him over during batting practice. So thanks, Alex, for clicking the button.
You losing control of yourself and just running over another human, I imagine would hurt.
And then
you,
Mohal,
the other person.
Also a great reminder in there, 5-star reviews, please. This is teamwork. This is us working together. People are trolling us with these 1-star reviews. And, sometimes people get upset about Sam and they throw a 1-star review and it's Sam's fault. But we got to offset that with 5-star reviews, either on Apple, Spotify, wherever you leave your reviews. You got to do it. So anything else on Jets, Patriots, Shohei Ohtani, or Sergio Romo?
No, are we getting questions for the last few minutes?
Yeah,
we're out here?
Any questions? Let's do some chat. Let's do some questions. What do we got? Yeah, he didn't hear me. There's music during batting practice. I don't know.
You could definitely make the argument that it's his fault. I mean, you're not exactly hard to spot.
Yeah. He was real upset because he was under the ball calling for it, and I didn't hear him calling for it, and I kind of...
All right. That's a little bit more defendable from his point of view.
Not great.
No.
The Jets need Reddick. I mean, I think the extra pass rush would certainly help. The depth on the defensive line. I mean, look, preseason Jets analysis, has it changed? Rodgers' health, Tyron Smith's health, Mike Williams' health, obviously health across the team. If they stay healthy, they're a competitor. They're in the mix.
I mean, Reddick is costing himself a lot of money. Like, he's racking up fines, losing game checks, and it's getting harder and harder to square that, right? Like, the more money he costs himself, I'm sure he wants that back in any contract that ends up getting made. The Jets don't want to touch it until he reports. I don't know how they're fixing that without him caving and showing up, and that involves swallowing a giant sum of lost money.
Couple Jared Goff questions in there. Let's see. Can you imagine if this offense had a tight end that could stretch the field? For the Jets, I don't know if they need it. I mean, any offense that has a tight end that can stretch the field is great. There's just not many of them around the NFL.
I mean, I think Rodgers can stretch the field from the tight end perspective. Like we saw, there was a play in here where they, Rodgers, his eyes dropped back, looked to the left, came back right, fired a pass down the seam to Tyler Conklin, right? That's stretching the field, but it was into a relatively tight window, and it's Rodgers made it happen. Like any of the tight ends could have run that route, got into the space, and caught the ball, right? That Rodgers is capable of stretching the field with the tight end. I don't think you need, Brock Bowers to make that happen.
He turned Big Bob Tunyon into a field stretching tight end. Brandon says 24.0 hugs. What do you make of the thing I hate? Everybody projecting what happened with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh. What was it? Let's just read into it.
I assume they're going to ask him why he didn't want a hug.
He's just not a hug guy. Do you think at this point in his life he's just not a hug guy? Like he doesn't want to be touched? Maybe,
yeah.
I projected that he doesn't want to celebrate expected accomplishments. That's
a very you can bring up Shohei Ohtani. That's a very Roy Keane statement. You don't celebrate for delivering the mail, right? That's your job.
Yeah, it's your job. It's supposed to find the end zone. I know you haven't seen it in 4 years, Robert. I know this isn't commonplace for you, but this is what I do. I'm Aaron Rodgers, so that's how I'll project that. I'll project that. We aren't all
Not all
huggers. We're
huggers.
not.
No,
Alex
true.
in the chat also had a. People are trying to. I like when people have. I like trades. I like trade theories and thoughts. What do you think of that one, Kyle Pitts on the Jets?
I'm I'm always keen to see Kyle Pitts anywhere he might succeed. For some reason, it seems not possible in Atlanta. So I'm all for throwing him at any other roster in the NFL and seeing if that'll work. Like I can't understand why Kyle Pitts is not able to have significantly more production than we're seeing from him. So yeah, put him with Aaron Rodgers and see if that works.
Yeah, Drake says Kyle Pitts looks slow. We may have overrated Kyle Pitts. We may have overrated him a little bit, but yeah, I think more opportunities would be
ran
great.
like a 4.4.
But does he feel fast out there? I don't know. Does he feel fast?
He might not feel fast, but he was fast.
Jermaine Burton on the Jets. Yeah, that's not yet. Not yet, at least. Would you guys play Drake 1 to 2 quarters a game for experience? I'm not that forward-looking, like forward-thinking as far as how to develop the quarterback, because I don't know if any experience right now does him any good. I would just hope that the practice reps. I don't know how to quantify practice reps, but I'm going to work under the assumption that taking 30% of them rather than 5% of them has a chance to create more development than you normally would.
I don't know that. I mean, I don't even know if the drive at the end is a smart thing. Like I might give him the drive on the basis that if it's a catastrophe, it's not enough of a catastrophe that it does lasting damage. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that didn't go great. All right, on to the next game. You're not like living with it for 3/4 of a beatdown. But it's such a bad offensive line. There's no receivers to work with. Like I don't know that he's gaining anything from those reps.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if the game reps are needed for Drake May at this point. Last one, Nick Williams. Do you guys think the Jets offense is maybe a little too vanilla? Can't see them being bad, but I think there's a ceiling if Rodgers is good but not elite.
I don't think it's vanilla. I think it's limited if they don't, like if those receivers that we talked about or those additional weapons don't consistently play well. Like if it's limited to we have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and we don't really trust anybody else to make plays, that's a problem. If Mike Williams, returns healthy, if Braylon Allen continues looking really dominant and actually gets better, if those guys emerge and become more consistent every game threats, then I think it's perfectly diverse enough to be really, really good with Rodgers at the helm.
I think my feeling on it is it felt like an Aaron Rodgers offense, which is when under center play action, they'll take their shot plays. If it's not there, he's checking down. There's a lot of slants, right? There's a lot of ISO, slant or fade, slants and fades, right? And whatever they're over covering, you're running the opposite. I think maybe the only thing that's missing is, again, what I think Matt LaFleur brought to the table in Green Bay is some of the freebies. LaFleur was good at freebies, yoink plays, tight end leak plays, red zone plays that are just wide open touchdowns. That might be what's missing in the biggest games. In between the 20s, it feels like it's Rodgers' offense and they're going to do what they do. But I do wonder if down the road, maybe they miss like creative play calling in the red zone to just scheme it up, right? Here's this wide open touchdown in the flat.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the most creative, most diverse, most, cutting edge offense in the NFL. On the other hand, it has Aaron Rodgers, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be. I mean, even tonight, they put up a ton of points and they also left a bunch out there, right? Like Rodgers tried to catch them offside, and instead the great Morgan Moses false started, right? That could have been a free play that it's not the same type of free play you're talking about, but Rodgers manufactures those free plays better than any other quarterback in the NFL. The touchdown shot to Garrett Wilson before halftime, like that was a play they should have had. Rodgers slightly missed the throw. Garrett Wilson also got flagged for the illegal forward motion, but Gonzalez fell down to the play. That was 7 points to be had before halftime that they left on the table. So I think it's more than diverse enough and more than creative enough to be really successful as long as Rodgers is the quarterback. But yeah, it will be missing some of the LaFleur stuff. It will be missing some of those kind of free creative scheme plays. And you also run the risk of Rodgers is effectively serving as his own offensive coordinator, which means there's not really anybody challenging him and saying, hey, you're skewing too much in this direction. I need you to do these things instead. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen this season which is probably not a huge problem right now. But week 15, right? If he's getting into a rut, do they have anybody that can drag him out of that, or does he have to do that by himself?
It's already probably our longest instant reaction coming off the worst game for fear of extending it further, Sam. Jonathan Taylor asked about the Mel Kiper rant saying outlaw 2 high safeties. Do we have time to handle this? It's just nonsense.
Why not just outlaw safeties entirely? Why not just play with 9 guys on defense?
Yeah. I made a joke last week. I made a joke that the NFL is going to start outlawing it on early downs the same way MLB does it with the shift. And it became when your joke one week becomes a real take on the shouty shows the next week, you know you're doing something, right? So I feel good about that. That's good shouty show material from Mel.
I say every drive we just lose a defender, until the offense.
By the way, full respect for Mel. I love Mel Kiper. Appreciate everything he's done. Thank you for the draft industry, the business you've created, and even everybody at ESPN was like, "This is ridiculous," right? They're like, "I can't." One of the McCourtys was like part of the conversation. He's like, "I should have left the table when this thing came up," right? I mean, it's like, yes, this is a bad call. And here's one other thing: I don't know what numbers they're using at ESPN because I've seen numbers floated that teams are using like 60%. 2 high safeties. That's just not the case by any measure that I've seen. It's not the case. There's different styles of like a deeper cover 3 and different things that are thwarting some of those downfield passing attempts. But whatever numbers I've seen out there, 60% too high, it's just not real, right? It's just not even the reality right now.
It's also, okay, we got to wrap this up. But my last take on this whole thing is people need to stop talking about offense being down and the numbers being regressing this year as if it's a problem that needs to be solved, right? It's
absolutely.
It's just the dynamic this year. Defenses are fighting back. Offenses are struggling relative to the last 5, 6, 7 years. That's just the game. It's not like
that's what makes football great. That's what makes it great. Yes.
We don't need to go and like rig the rules to bring it back and like let's make sure everybody's scoring 45 points every week. It's just what's happening this year. Like
that
stop
was
treating it as an issue.
When 3rd and 20s became automatic first downs with like the little bit of illegal contact, that's bad football. I don't want that emphasized again, so let's not even get to it. So that's it for us today. If you're part of the 67% that watches us and is not subscribed, all you have to do is click a button, hit the subscribe button. We do this after the primetime games. We'll be back again on Sunday evening in between the 4 o'clocks and Sunday Night Football. Everybody enjoy the football this weekend. We'll see you again on Sunday night.